Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. So today topic is Indian Penal Code 1860. So we will go through chapter wise and section wise. We will cover all section, that is 511 sections. So let's start chapter number 1, that is introduction. Section 1, title and extent of operation of the code. 2. Punishment of offences committed within India. 3. Punishment of offences committed beyond, but which by law may be tried within India. 4. Extension of code to extraterritorial offences. 5. Certain laws not to be affected by this act. Now chapter 2, general explanations. So section 6, definitions in the code to be understood subject to exceptions. Section 7, sense of expression once explained. 8, gender. 9, number. 10, man, woman. 11, person. 12, public. 13, definition of queen. 14, servant of government. 15, definition of British India. 16, definition of government of India. 17, government. 18, India. 19, judge. 20, court of justice. 21, public servant. 22, movable property. 23, wrongful gain, wrongful loss. Gaining wrongfully or losing wrongfully. 24, dishonestly. 25, fraudulently. 26, reason to believe. 27, property in possession of wife, clerk or servant. 28, counterfeit. 29, document. 29A, electronic record. 30, valuable security. 31, a bill. 32, words referring to acts include illegal omissions. 33, act, omission. 34, acts done by several persons in furtherance of common intention, or you can directly say 34 is common intention. 35, when such an act is criminal by reason of its being done with a criminal knowledge or intention. 36, effect caused partly by act and partly by omission. 37, cooperation by doing one of several acts constituting an offense. 38, persons concerned in criminal act may be guilty of different offenses. 39, voluntarily. 40, offense. 41, special law. 42, local law. 43, illegal, illegally bound to do. 44, injury. 45, life. 46, death. 47, animal. 48, vessels. 49, year, month. 50, section. 51, oath. 52, good faith. 52A, harbor. So now chapter number 3 of punishments. 53, punishments. 53A, construction of references to transportation. 54, commutation of sentence of death. 55, commutation of sentence of imprisonment for life. 55A, definition of appropriate government. 56, omitted. 57, fractions of terms of punishment. 58, 59, omitted. 60, sentence may be in certain case of imprisonment wholly or partially, rigorous or simple. 61, 62 also omitted. 63, amount of fine. 64. Sentence of imprisonment for non-payment of fine. 55. 65. Limit to imprisonment for non-payment of fine when imprisonment and fine awardable. 66. Description of imprisonment for non-payment of fine. 67. Imprisonment for non-payment of fine when offence punishable with fine only. 68. Imprisonment to terminate on payment of fine. 69. Termination of imprisonment on payment of proportional part of fine. 70. Fine level within 6 years or during imprisonment, death, not to discharge property from liability. 71. Limit of punishment of offence made up of several offences. 72. Punishment of person guilty of one of several offences, the judgment stating that it is doubtful of which. 73. Solitary confinement. 74. Limit of solitary confinement. 75. Enhanced punishment for certain offences under Chapter 12 or Chapter 17 after previous convictions. So now chapter number 4, general exceptions. Section 76. Act done by a person bound or by mistake of fact, believing himself bound by law. Or you can directly say mistake of fact. Section 77. Act of judge when acting judicially. 78. Act done pursuant to the judgment or order of court. 79. Act done by a person justified or by mistake of fact, believing himself justified by law. Section 80. Accident in doing lawful act. 81. Act likely to cause harm but done without criminal intent and to prevent other harm. 82. Act of a child under 7 years of age. 83. Act of a child above 7 years under 12 of immature understanding. 84. Act of a person of unsound mind. 85. Act of a person incapable of judgment by reason of intoxication caused against his will. 86. Offense requiring a particular intent or knowledge committed by one who is intoxicated. 87. Act not intended and not known to be likely to cause death or grievous hurt done by consent. 88. Act not intended to cause death done by consent in good faith for person's benefit. 89. Act done in good faith for benefit of child or insane person by or by consent of guardian. 90. Consent known to be given under fear or misconception, consent to insane person. Consent of child. 91. Exclusion of act which are offences independently of harm caused. 92. Act done in good faith for benefit of a person without consent. 93. Communication made in good faith. 94. Act to which a person is compelled by threats. 95. Act causing slight harm. Now 96, that is of right of private defenses. So from 96 to 106. So 96. Things done in private defense. 97. Right of private defense of the body and of property. 98. Right of private defense against the act of a person of unsound mind, etc. 99. Acts against which there is no right of private defense, extent to which the right may be exercised. 100. When the right of private defense of the body extends to causing death. 101. When such right extends to causing any harm other than death. 102. Commencement and continuance of the right of private defense of the body. 103. when the right of private defense of property extend to causing death. 104. When such right extend to causing any harm other than death. 105. Commencement and continuance of the right of private defense of property. 106. Right of private defense against a deadly assault when there is risk of harm to innocent persons. Now, Chapter 5 of Abatement. Section 107. Abatement of a thing. 108. Abater. 108a. Abatement in India of offences outside India. 109. Punishment of abatement if the act abated is committed in consequences and where no express provision is made for its punishment. 110. Punishment of abatement if person abated does act with different intention from that of abater. 111. Liability of abater when one act abated and different act done. 112. Abater when liable to cumulative punishment for act abated and for act done. 113. Liability of abater for an effect caused by the act abated different from that intended by the abater. 114. Abater present when offence is committed. 115. Abatement of offence punishable with death or imprisonment for life if offence not committed. If act causing harm by be done in consequences. 116. Abatement of offence punishable with imprisonment if offence be not committed, and if abater or person abated be a public servant whose duty it is to prevent offence. 117. Abating commission of offence by the public or by more than 10 persons. 118. Concealing design to commit offence punishable with death or imprisonment for life, and if offence be committed, if offence be not committed. 119. Public servant concealing design to commit offence which it is his duty to prevent, if offence be punishable with death, etc., and if offence be not committed. Section 120. Concealing design to commit offence punishable with imprisonment, and if offence be committed, if offence not be committed. Chapter 5a. Criminal conspiracy. So, Section 120a. Definition of criminal conspiracy. Section 120b. Punishment of criminal conspiracy. Chapter 6 of offence against the state. Section 121. Wagging or attempting to wage war or abating waging of war against the government of India. Section 121a. Conspiracy to commit offence punishable by Section 121. 122. Collecting arms, etc., with intention to waging war against the government of India. 123. Concealing with intent to facilitate design to wage war. 124. Assaulting president, governor, etc., with intent to compel or restrain to exercise of any lawful power. 124a. Sedition. 125. Waging war against any ascetic power in alliance with the government of India. 126. Committing depredation on terrorists of power at peace with the government of India. 127. Receiving property taken by war or depredation mentioned in Section 125 and 126. Public servant. 128. That is, public servant voluntarily allowing prisoner of state or of war to escape. 129. Public servant negligently suffering such prisoner to escape. 130. Adding escape of rescuing or harboring such prisoner. Now chapter 7 of offense relating to the army, navy and air force. Section 131. Awaiting mutiny or attempting to seduce a soldier, sailor or airman from his duty. Section 132. Abatement of mutiny if mutiny is committed in consequence thereof. 133. Abatement of assault by soldier, sailor or airman on his superior officer when in execution of his duty. 134. Abatement of such assault if the assault is committed. 135. Abatement of desertion of soldier, sailor or airman. 136. Harboring deserter. 137. Deserter concealed on board merchant vessels through negligence of master. 138. Abatement of act of insubordination by soldier, sailor or airman. 138. 38A. 139. Persons subject to certain act. 140. Bearing garb or carrying token used by soldier, sailor or airman. Chapter 8 of offense against public tranquility. So section 141. Unlawful assembly. 142. Being member of unlawful assembly. 143. Punishment. 144. Joining unlawful assembly armed with deadly weapon. 145. Joining or continuing in unlawful assembly knowing it has been commanded to disperse. 146. Writing. 147. Punishment for writing. 148. Writing armed with deadly weapon. 149. Every member of unlawful assembly guilty of offense committed in prosecution of the common object. You can directly say common object. 150. Hiring or conniving at hiring of person to join unlawful assembly. 151. Knowingly joining or continuing in assembly of 5 or more persons after it has been commanded to disperse. 152. Assaulting or obstructing public servant when suppressing right, etc. 153. Wantonly 153. Section 153. Wantonly giving provocation with intent to cause right if writing be committed, if not committed. 153A. Promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, etc., and doing act prejudicially to maintenance of harmony. Offense committed in place of worship, etc. 153A. Punishment for knowingly carrying arms in any procession or organizing or holding or taking part in any mass drill or mass training with arms. 153B. Imitations, assertions prejudicial to national integration. 154. Owner or occupier of land on which an unlawful assembly is held. 155. Liability of person for whose benefit right is committed. 156. Liability of agent of owner or occupier for whose benefit right is committed. 157. Harboring person hired for an unlawful assembly. 158. being hired to take part in an unlawful assembly or riot or to go armed. 159 affray. 160 punishment for committing affray. Now chapter 9 of offense by or relating to public servant. Section 161, 162, 163, 164, 165, 165A now omitted. So now section 166, public servant disobeying law with intent to cause injury to any person. 166A, public servant disobeying direction under law. 166B, punishment for non-treatment of victim. 167, public servant framing an incorrect document with intent to cause injury. 168, public servant unlawfully engaging in trade. 169, public servant unlawfully vying or bidding for property. 170, personating a public servant. 171, wearing garb or carrying token used by public servant with fraudulent intent. Chapter 9A of offense relating to elections. 171A, candidate, electoral right defined. 171B, bribery. 171C, undue influence at elections. 171D, personation at elections. 171E, punishment for bribery. 171F, punishment for undue influence or personation at an election. 171G, false statement in connection with an election. 171H, illegal payments in connection with an election. 171I, failure to keep election account. Now chapter 10 of contempt of the lawful authority of public servant. Section 172, absconding to avoid service of summons or other proceeding. 173, preventing service of summons or other proceeding or preventing publication thereof. 174, non-attendance in obedience to an order from public servant. 174A, non-appearance in response to a proclaimed under Section 82 of Act. 175, omission to produce document to public servant by person legally bound to produce it. 176, omission to give notice or information to public servant by person legally bound to give it. 177, furnishing false information. 178, refusing oath or affirmation when duly required by public servant to make it. 179, refusing to answer public servant authorized to question. 180, refusing to sign statement. 181, false statement on oath or affirmation to public servant or person authorized to administer an oath or affirmation. 182, false information with intent to cause public servant to use his lawful power to the injury or another person. 183, resistance to the taking of property by the lawful authority of a public servant. 184, obstructing sale of property offered for sale by authority of public servant. 185, illegal purchase or bid for property offered for sale by authority of public servant. 186, obstructing public servant in discharge of public function. 187, omission to assist public servant when bound by law to give assistance. 188, disobedience to order duly promulgated by public servant. And 189, threat of injury of public servant. 190, threat of injury to induce person to refrain from applying for protection to public servant. Chapter 11 of False Evidence and Offense Against Public Justice. 191. Section 191, Giving False Evidence. 192. Fabricating false evidence. 193. Punishment for false evidence. 194. Giving or fabricating false evidence with intent to procure conviction of capital offense, if innocent person be thereby convicted and executed. 195. Giving or fabricating false evidence with intent to procure conviction of offense punishable with imprisonment for life or imprisonment. 195A. Threatening or inducing any person to give false evidence. 196. Using evidence known to be false. 197. Issuing or signing false certificate. 198. Using as true a certificate known to be false. 199. False statement made in declaration which is by law receivable as evidence. 200. Using as true such declaration knowing it to be false. 201. Causing disappearance of evidence of offense or giving false information to screen offender. 202. Intentional omission to give information of offense by person bound to inform. 203. Giving false information respecting an offense committed. 204. Destruction of document or electronic record to prevent its production as evidence. 205. False personation for purpose of act or proceeding in suit or prosecution. 206. Fraudulent removal or concealment of property to prevent its seizure as forfeited or in execution. 207. Fraudulent claim to property to prevent its seizure as forfeited or in execution. 208. Fraudulently suffering decree for sum not due. 209. Dishonestly making false claim in court. 210. Fraudulently obtaining decree for sum not due. 212. Harboring offender, if a capital offense, if punishable with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment. 213. Taking gift etc. to screen an offender from punishment, if a capital offense, if punishable imprisonment for life or with imprisonment. 214. Offering gift or resorting of property in consideration of screening offender, if a capital offense, if punishable with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment. So 215. Taking gift to help to recover stolen property etc. 216. Harboring offender who has escaped from custody or whose apprehension has been ordered, if capital offense, if punishable with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment. 216A. Penalty for harboring robbers or dacoits. 216B. Definition of harborer in section 212, 216 and 216A. Section 217. Public servant disobeying direction of law with intent to save person from punishment or property from forfeiture. 218. Public servant framing incorrect record or writing with intent to save person from punishment or property from forfeiture. 219. Public servant in judicial proceeding corruptly making report etc. contrary to law. 220. Commitment for trial or confinement by a person having authority who knows that he is acting contrary to law. 221. Intentional omission to apprehend on the part of public servant bound to apprehend. 222. Intentional omission to apprehend on the part of public servant bound to apprehend person under sentence or lawfully committed. 223. Escape from confinement or custody negligently suffered by public servant. 224. Resistance or obstruction by a person to his lawful apprehension. 225. Resistance or obstruction to lawful apprehension of another person. 225a. Omission to apprehend or sufferance of escape on part of public servant in case not otherwise provided for. 125b. Resistance or obstruction to lawful apprehension or escape or rescue in case not otherwise provided for. 226. Unlawful return from transportation. 227. Violation of condition of remission of punishment. 228. Intentional insult or interruption to public servant sitting in judicial proceeding. 228a. Disclosure of identity of the victim of certain offences, etc. 229. Personation of a juror or assessor. 229a. Failure by person released on bail or bound to appear in court. Chapter 12 of offence relating to coin and government stamps. So section 230. Coins definition. So coin defined in 230. Indian coin. 231. Counterfeiting coin. 232. Counterfeiting Indian coin. 233. Making or selling instrument for counterfeiting coin. 234. Making or selling instrument for counterfeiting Indian coin. 235. So section 235. Possession of instrument or material for the purpose of using the same for counterfeiting coin or if Indian coin. 236. Awaiting in India the counterfeiting out of the India of coin. So 237 is import or export of counterfeit coin. 238. Import or export of counterfeits of the Indian coin. 239. Delivery of coin processed with knowledge that it is counterfeit. 240. Delivery of Indian coin processed with knowledge that it is counterfeit. 241. Delivery of coins as genuine, which when first processed the delivered did not know to be counterfeit. 242. Possession of counterfeit coin by person who knew it to be counterfeit when he became possessed thereof. Section 243. Possession of Indian coin by person who knew it to be counterfeit when he became possessed thereof. 244. Person employed in mint causing coin to be of different weight or composition from that fixed by law. 245. Unlawfully taking coining instrument from mint. 246. Fraudulently or dishonestly diminishing weight or altering composition of coin. 247. Fraudulently or dishonestly diminishing weight or altering composition of Indian coin. 248. Altering appearance of coin with intent that it shall pass as coin of different inscription. 249. Altering appearance of Indian coin with intent that it shall pass as coin of different description. 250. Delivery of coin possessed with knowledge that it is altered. 251. Delivery of Indian coin possessed with knowledge that it is altered. 252. Possession of coin by person who knew it to be altered when he became possessed thereof. 253. Possession of Indian coin by person who knew it to be altered when he became possessed thereof. Delivery of, that is 254. Delivery of coin as genuine which when first possessed the deliverer did not know to be altered. 255. Counterfeiting government stamp. 256. Having possession of instrument or material for counterfeiting government stamp. 257. Making or selling instrument for counterfeiting government stamp. 258. Sale of counterfeit document government stamp. 259. Having possession of counterfeit government stamp. 260. Using as a genuine a government stamp known to be counterfeit. 261. Effacing writing from substance being government stamp or removing from document a stamp used for it with intent to cause loss to government. 262. Using government stamp known to have been therefore used. 263. Erasure of mark denoting that stamp has been used. 263A. Prohibition of fictitious stamps. Now, chapter 13 of offences relating to weight and measurements. 264. Section 264. Fraudulent use of false instrument for weighing. 265. Fraudulent use of false weight or measure. 266. Being in possession of false weight or measure. 267. Making or selling false weight or measure. So now chapter 14 of offences affecting the public health, safety, convenience, decency and morals. Section 268. Public nuisance. 269. Negligent act likely to spread infection of disease dangerous to life. 270. Malignant act likely to spread infection of disease dangerous to life. 271. Disobedience to quarantine rule. 272. Adulteration of food or drink intended for sale. 273. Sale of noxious food or drink. 274. Adulteration of drugs. 275. Sale of adulterated drugs. 276. Sale of drug as a different drug or preparation. 277. Falling water of public spring or reservoir. 278. Making atmosphere noxious to health. 279. Rash driving or riding on a public way. 280. Rash navigation of vessels. 281. Exhibition of false light, mark or void. 282. Conveying person by water for hire in unsafe or overloaded vessel. 283. Danger or obstruction in public way or line of navigation. 284. Negligent conduct with respect to poisonous substance. 285. Negligent conduct with respect to fire or combustible matter. 286. Negligent conduct with respect to explosive substances. 287. Negligent conduct with respect to machinery. 288. Negligent conduct with respect to pulling down or repairing building. 289. Negligent conduct with respect to animal. 290. Punishment for public nuisance in case not otherwise provided for. 291. Continuance of nuisance after injunction to discontinue. 292. Sale etc. of absence book etc. 293. Sale etc. of absence objects to young person. 294. Obscene act and songs. 294A. Keeping lottery chapter 15 of offences relating to religion. Section 295. Injuring or defiling place of worship with intent to insult the religion of any class. 295A. Deliberate and malicious act intended to outrage religious feelings of any class by insulting its religion or religious belief. 296. Disturbing religious assembly. 297. Trespassing on burial place, etc. 298. Uttering words, etc. with deliberate intent to wound religious feelings. So, 15th chapter we will close here, and next chapter we will start in part 2, that is offense pertaining to human body and other, that is from section chapter 16 onwards. So thank you for watching this, and hope you will remember all the sections by listening time to time. So all the very best. Good luck.